Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I'm Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. There's only 2 months left in 2024, but we still have some truly exciting titles on the way, and quite possibly the best new game since Half-Life Alyx. So today, I'm not just going to mention what games are coming soon. I have all the latest information, footage, and hands-on experience with almost every single one of these games. So I will, of course, also be dropping my expectations. Now, there are, of course, links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but let's order this video based on my overall hype level, starting with Aces of Thunder. This is an authentic combat flight simulator designed specifically for the current generation of VR, including the PlayStation VR 2 and those super beefy PCs out there. So for those who feel like the MetaQuest holds back VR titles, that shouldn't be the case for this one. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the latest news and updates, there isn't much available. We have been getting a few 20-second clips here and there, showing off different parts of the game, but that's about it. But it is still currently listed for a 2024 release on both Steam and the PlayStation storefront. So if you are into realistic dogfighting style games, it looks like we have a cool title coming in the near future, as Aces of Thunder not only has single-player missions, but also up to 16-person multiplayer modes and full HOTAS support. Now, if you're wondering why I placed this on the bottom of my hype level, well, it's just not my style of game. Also, we haven't heard too much about it, so I'm a little skeptical it's going to release in 2024. The fact that it's only PCVR and PlayStation VR 2 makes the overall player base a lot smaller, so I don't know how much money they have to invest in this title. And then finally, if anything in VR is going to make me nauseous, it's a seated game like this. Now, I genuinely have like fantastic VR legs, nothing makes me sick, but historically, anything that affects me at all is a game like this, either like the kayaking stuff or where you're doing a flight sim. Maybe kayaking worse than flight sim, but that's what I'm saying. That's why it's on the bottom of my list. But I know people who are looking for this style of game, and if it's good, they'll absolutely eat this up. But let's move on to our next title. From here, we have Wanderer: Fragments of Fate. The original release of this story-driven, time-traveling puzzle title was already pretty badass when it released almost 3 years ago. Now, with all of that time, they've managed to upgrade major aspects of the game, add new content, crank the graphics up to 11, and port the title to new platforms, including the MetaQuest and the PlayStation VR 2. Now, if you never played the original game, I guarantee you'll be impressed by both the graphics, storyline, and overall production value. This game also has some extremely challenging puzzles for those who are up for a challenge. Now, once again, I'm not super hyped about this title because it's not my genre of choice. Puzzle games, yeah, they're not my favorite. I do love a good storyline, which this game has. However, I've already experienced it. So is it worth going back through again and redoing the same puzzles? I don't know. Maybe everything I've updated plus that additional content will make it worth it, but I'm not super excited to just jump back into that world. I do want to check it out. I do want to see the improvements, see how good it's on Quest. It does look fantastic, but again, it's just not super exciting because it's not exactly new for me. For everybody else though, especially if you're into puzzles and storytelling, this should be higher on your list. Now, the other thing that makes me skeptical is they keep delaying this game. It went June, September, October. When? Now, we don't even know if it's coming out in 2024. Maybe it is. I'm still a little skeptical on that. And I'm concerned why it keeps getting delayed. You know, obviously, they're releasing on multiple platforms, lots of upgrades, new content. They reworked a lot of systems. So things can go sideways. But is there an issue? It's just not running right on the Quest, and it's something they'll never really be able to fully iron out, and they're just trying to get it as good as they can, and eventually they have to give up. I don't know. I'm slightly concerned there. We'll see what happens. But my excitement definitely increases when we get to Metro Awakening. Vertigo Games has already proven multiple times that they can deliver a solid first-person shooter. And this time, they're doing it in a setting that is already beloved. The Metro universe is just this highly immersive, creepy world that is ideal to explore in VR. From what I've experienced so far, not only does this game have some of the best graphics I've seen in years, there's also some excellent first-person shooter combat, compelling storytelling, and a nice variety of objectives. Now, both the Quest version and PlayStation VR 2 version are looking great. We know that the Quest won't have graphics that'll match PCVR or the PlayStation VR 2, but honestly, it's looking very solid as it is. Vertigo Games has done amazing work in the past getting titles to look really good on the Quest. Most recently was the Arizona Sunshine remake, which definitely impressed me. So overall, this is going to be a solid game. My concern though is the demo that we were shown was a weird vertical slice, and it was jumping us around. So it's like we were in one area that was super creepy and we're fighting monsters. Then we're in an area where we have to sneak around some humans. And then there's some like minor traps and a labyrinth and some really cool cutscenes. I'm just curious, did they show us all the best bits? And everything else in between is just like filler. It'll be a little bland and repetitive. That's my concern. I hope that's not the case. I'm like 30, 70. 30, that'll be a little bit too much filler. 70, that no, they'll keep us on our toes throughout. And the final concern is just how long is the campaign itself. When it comes to other titles from Vertigo Games, like After the Fall and Arizona Sunshine, people have historically complained that the campaign is just too short. Now the next title I'm really excited for, but it's definitely a wild card, and that's Alien Rogue Incursion. We did just get a little bit more information on this game, some more gameplay footage, and I have to say, it's looking really good. But there's not a ton of information. Survios has dropped the ball in the past with The Walking Dead Onslaught, which was also looking really good before the game released, and at the moment they haven't been giving access to the VR community. So it does feel like there are some red flags here. Again though, there are just so many compelling aspects of this title. The Alien franchise is just amazing. We all know how good Alien Isolation in VR is, and now it's not just a straight horror game, this is also an action game. I also like how they talk about the dynamic AI of the aliens. So you could sneak by. If you make a lot of noise, you're basically bound to get into combat and you're going to have to fight your way through. So the game responds to you. And that sounds really cool, but I need to see it in action. There's also supposedly a cool storyline to be had. But again, they said the same about The Walking Dead Onslaught. Now, I do also want to discuss a controversial subject about this game that I've heard people discussing, especially in my comments, that I find ridiculous. I don't stray away from those topics, guys. I want to address it head on. Some people were annoyed at the fact that you're playing as a black female, which I find ridiculous. They're going, oh, it doesn't add anything to the game. What's the point? All these companies are woke, woke, woke. I think people are just way too ready to call things woke. First off, Zula is an existing character in the Alien world. She's a colonial marine, and she was the ideal person for this storyline. They wanted a badass in there, someone who's trained, not just another scientist who has to run away from the aliens. So it made sense there. They thought her storyline was compelling, and they made a game centered around her. Now, there's also plenty of other games where people play as a black female, and no one seemed to care at all. Like Half-Life Alyx, and also Vertigo 2. No one seemed to care at all. It didn't matter. So I don't know what this is about. I wanted to address it because I feel like those comments are just crazy. But let's not get into that whole subject for too long. Let's move on to our next game. And last up, we have Skydance's Behemoth. Previously, Skydance did an amazing job with The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, but now they're working in their very own IP and creating a much more action-oriented title. You'll be playing as a cursed, yet super-powered being who's set on a quest to rid the world of these behemoth creatures. Now this here is right up my alley. It's got a little bit of a God of War theme to it. I love just being empowered in a game that feels so good in VR, just grabbing guys, throwing them around, cutting off limbs. You know, that's what VR is all about, that overall immersion. And I just like that physical empowerment. Like, you could only really experience that in VR. Something that we get from a game like Blade and Sorcery, but this takes it way further because you have those superhuman abilities. However, they're going to humble you by putting you up against creatures that are gigantic. Another aspect that works so well in VR. Scale is one of the things I talk about that is just fantastic in VR. And when you see one of these monstrosities just peering down at you, trying to trample you into oblivion, it's a gameplay moment you've never experienced before. There's a massive adrenaline rush here, and I just hope there's a decent amount of variety in the game with solid pacing. And the last concern for that title would be, it looks like the PCVR version is going to get delayed. I have no confirmation on this. I tried to get some, but I have zero, so I'm not speaking with any external knowledge. But the fact that we are getting dates for the PlayStation VR 2 and the Meta Quest, but not PCVR, yeah. Maybe they're trying to get it out in time and they're not sure. That's why they haven't released the date, but I'm skeptical. Now, a good game is a good game. It doesn't matter if you have to wait an extra month or 2 or 3. So if you are a PCVR only player, don't sweat it. Let them iron out the bugs. You don't want them to rush it and release a crappy version. So just wait, enjoy it. I'm sure it'll be awesome. And that was today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, what are you gonna do? You're gonna thumbs up. If you're new here, you're gonna subscribe. I'm getting close to 100,000. I want to hit that number. 80% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed. What are you doing? Just click, done. And yeah, I'll see you guys on next time.